Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. I'm, of course, the Battle Room, and today we are back with some more Champions news. I didn't expect to be getting much more news about this game until this weekend, when, of course, PAX East will take place. So maybe there will be more information there. There will be a playable demo, so that will be exciting. But we actually got a ton of information this morning. Recently, they did a demo for a bunch of content creators. I was not invited. It's okay. It's okay. I know. Sad. But either way, we got a ton of information, which is super hype and super exciting. A lot of my information is going to be drawn from Wolf and from Talon VGC. I'll link both of their videos down below so you can check it out. But the first thing I want to talk about is from Wolf's video here, which is that Protect has 8 PP. So now yesterday, we didn't know, but in yesterday's trailer, they showed all the moves having 5 PP, like Extreme Speed had 5 PP. So we're like, oh, there must be no PP ups. But that's actually not true. We actually have found out from the players who played the playtest that those moves are actually capped at 8. They did nerf some moves as well. Wolf included Earthquake as an example that was moved down from 12 to 16, which in my opinion probably won't come up. It probably won't play any factor at all. I mean, it definitely can, and it definitely probably will in someone's match, but for the most part, you're not going to interact with it that much. But Protect also got nerfed, which is actually insane work. Protect got removed to 8. I don't know how I feel about this one, right? Because I've used Detect in tournament, right? If there's an option to use Detect or Protect, I'm slamming Detect every time. I'm not risking playing in prison. So Protect moving to 8, I don't know. I kind of don't think it's a huge deal, but it's definitely a deal, right? Like, it's something you will have to potentially play around or interact with. I think one of the big interactions that will come up into play is, of course, Sucker Punch or Thunderclap, right? Same move. But I think that could be a huge deal moving forward. Sucker Punch mind games a lot of the time rely on the fact that there are more protects than Sucker Punches. So it's really easy to dance around a Sucker Punch or a Thunderclap because you're constantly spamming Protect, right? So I do think that them having the same amount could make it really interesting, or could almost just set up guaranteed wins for the Sucker Punch player, because presumably they've pressed, like in a situation where they've pressed Protect more than once, or even just once, and the other player has not pressed Sucker Punch, the Sucker Punch player would just automatically win by default by just spamming Sucker Punch. So I don't know. I think that it makes Sucker Punch and Thunderclap better, which I don't know. I don't know if I want that to be the case. But I do think it's probably a pretty solid change. I don't think it's gonna, that interaction does scare me. I came up with that one like mid-recording. I'm like, oh my god, Sucker Punch just got better. But other than that, I do think 8 is usually enough for the most part. But again, it's a pretty big nerf, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I think 8 is okay, and like 80% of your games probably won't matter, but I don't know, 20%? That's a big deal. That is a big deal. So now the next change that we are seeing here is that of the status screen, I guess it's called. So you can see that they made it a little bit easier to see the multipliers, right? So you see here, we got 1 point, right? Because it's neutral, so it's X times 1. But then we have defense, which is times 3. I think it's just very nice change to I think help out your mental math a little bit, right? Because I think the boost can get a little bit tricky, and I do think that it helps to have a physical, like a number to see. So you're like, oh, times 3. So my body press will do 3 times a regular body press. So I think this type of screen and adding to it is just a good quality of life change. Another thing we did get to see was in the trailer when Talon was playing, he noticed that when Intimidate lowered his attack, it turned into 0.7. So 0.7 is really big, because normally when you're at -1, it's going to be 0.66 or 0.67, if you will. But 0.7 does add a little bit of a nerf to, not a nerf, it just completely changes how stat drops work. It does nerf stat drops altogether, but a big one is also like speed, if it is 0.7. Now, both Wolf and Talon mentioned that it could be a rounding thing just to make it easier in your head, but just because it is one number instead of putting 0.67, 0.7 is just a little bit easier to take in. So we'll have to wait until we see the game, but potentially that could be an insane nerf to Intimidate, an insane nerf to stuff like Icy Wind or just speed drops in general, right? And I guess the defense drops as well, just because you're going to be rounding higher. So like a speed drop like Caloric Shadow, for example, normally to lower its speed, like to -1, you have to hit around, I believe, like 138, 140. But with this new change, if it actually is 0.7, it would actually be a little bit faster. So you'd have to invest in more speed to abuse a -1 speed Shadow Rider, for example, right? And then Intimidate just would be straight up nerfed, right? Which, I mean, it's not the end of the world to nerf Intimidate by 0.3, but I think it would really kind of warp how we have to look at the stat changes, and it's just a little bit of a little mental adjustment, a little bit different mental math, but otherwise it would just be a nerf overall to stat drops, which we'll have to see again. This one is kind of speculation. It does say this, but it totally could be a rounding thing, because I think like 0.67 would look a little bit stupid, whereas 0.7 is clean, easy to understand. Next up here, we do have an amazing change in my opinion, which is that of like the switching slash like when you go to your back Pokemon, right, to switch something in, you get to see everything, right? This is from Wolf's video, so you're able to see, right? You say, hey, oh, they Mega Evolved. These Pokemon are fainted, and I know how healthy the other Pokemon are. I think this is an incredible change. I'm not a person who takes notes, so this type of change is awesome for me. It just puts everything on the screen. I think overall the UI has looked pretty good. Like, I really like how easy the information is to get, and how easy it is to you know, like for any player to see the status of the game at any point, which I think is really cool. Again, having the Mega shown that it's used, and potentially in the future showing that a Terra is used, or God forbid a Dynamax, will make the game a lot easier to understand, especially like sometimes it just sucked. Like if I'm in a high pressure game, one of my Pokemon fainted and I have to bring something in, and I'm like, oh my God, what HP was his Incineroar at? Like, what HP is it? And I don't remember. And I'm like, oh my God, that totally changes how I want to approach the rest of the game. So I think having all this information readily available is really nice. Because even if you are taking notes, you might not be writing like Incineroar, 10% HP, right? Like, just in case I forget. So I think this is a really, really good change as well. Just having all this information in one easy place while you're switching. So another thing that was revealed in the demo, which is two really big things, honestly, was the abilities of both Frostlass and Dragonite. So Frostlass, the abilities of the Mega Pokemon, I should say. But Frostlass at first glance, before we found out the ability, I was like, okay, 120 speed, not bad. 100 special defense, not bad. 140 special attack, pretty good. The defense is severely lacking, and the HP is not great either. And so it just kind of seemed like a meh Pokemon. Like, it's really fast, it does a lot of damage, it gets access to like Icy Wind and stuff, so that part is kind of neat. But overall, it kind of felt like I don't know, it just kind of felt very mid and very like, it would be okay, but like obviously defensive typing is not great. That is until we found out it got snow warning. I don't know if that's what it's called anymore. Whatever, the snow ability, right? It sets the snow, which I think turns this Pokemon into a pretty viable and real Pokemon to deal with, right? Like, first looking at probably its weakest stat is of course defense, but now having the snow, you get that defense boost. That's super lit. It's got fast blizzards, it gets access to Aurora Veil, Icy Wind, Shadow Ball. I think it's got a really good spot. It seems like a better version of like, it's like a mega version of Ninetales, which I think is really, really cool. Yeah, I think it looks like a really strong Pokemon. It's going to be hitting fast, hitting hard, potentially risking you those freezes, right, if you're playing against it. So I think overall, Frostlass looks like a really positive Mega Pokemon, and I think that this Pokemon has some really insane viability. I think Frostlass will be a good Mega Pokemon, but unfortunately, that is not the same for our boy Mega Dragonite. So when we first saw the stats, I know people are like, what will this guy do, right? Like, what will he do? Because his attack actually goes down 10, which sucks, right? Because Dragonite traditionally has been known as kind of a physical attacker. But okay, they raised his special attack to a really high degree. Its defensive stats are through the roof, right? Like, he is chilling. He also gets 20 speed, so he hits base 100, which I think is a really, really solid positive speed. 91 HP with these defenses is absolutely nuts, right? This is like Cresselia level defense. So we're like, okay, this Pokemon is going to be broken. What ability are they going to give it? Some people were theorizing that it was going to be like No Guard or Drizzle, so that it would have 100% accurate Hurricanes to play into the special attack, right? Because then you have a really solid set of like, I mean, either ability, just 100% accurate Hurricanes would be a big deal. Just because, again, the special attack stats so high. But they gave him multi-scale. So multi-scale just kind of sucks for a variety of reasons. Having the same ability as your base form does kind of suck. Now, you could, in theory, run Inner Focus and then Mega Evolve. But that just, I mean, I think you can. But like, if you're running a physical Dragonite, you're probably not running Mega Dragonite. You don't want to take 10 stat points away. So running Inner Focus just doesn't even seem worth it, because if I'm running this guy as a Mega, he's a special attacker. So like, I'd probably double down with Multiscale. Yeah, Multiscale is just a rough ability. I think it makes sense from a balance standpoint, because I think this Pokemon, if it got one of those crazy abilities, would be very broken. So I think it does make sense, unfortunately, for Mega Dragonite, but I do think that he is not going to be super great. I mean, firstly, my mind goes to, hey, let's run him in Rain, and I totally think there could be a world where you run like Rain plus Dragonite, especially in the early format, but I don't know. I think that, like, unfortunately, Multiscale sucks. And like, his bulk is great, and I do think he'll be able to use the ability. Like, the ability is good, admittedly, a very good ability, but I think he needed a little bit more oomph to make use of that special attack, right? Because now he's relying on partners. There's not a lot of good special flying moves. Granted, we don't know. He could get something really cool, but as of right now, I'm not very hopeful for my boy Dragonite. So now the next thing I want to talk about is a huge change to how Mega Evolution works. So this is from Z-Bandit on Twitter. They've tweeted, Mega Evolution now happens before switching. So in the past, you would switch, like for example, Politoed would come in, set the Rain, and then boom, Charizard Mega Evolve, set the Sun, right? Another big interaction is Metagross, right? Like Incineroar would come in, intimidate you, then he would Mega Evolve, get rid of Clear Body, but he had the Clear Body when the Incineroar came in. But now, it happens before switching, which is really, really insane. So it can override here in this clip. We can watch it here. So we're going to see the Mega Evolution from Greninja. He's getting big. He's getting crazy with it. And then he is going to Mega Evolve. And then the other Pokemon is actually going to switch out, right? Actually, wait, do we have to watch the No. Yeah, there goes the Kangaskhan, right? The Kangaskhan switch out into Meowscarada. Also, holy shit, Marks are in the game. I didn't know that. That's sick. I love Marks. I'm really happy to see that. Anyways, so that is a huge change to how the fundamental Mega Evolution works. I think that's really huge. And I think it's just overall a nerf to most Megas, right? So back to Dragonite, talking about Dragonite a little bit. I think even if you ran like a physical Mega Dragonite, I don't know why you do that, but if you ran Inner Focus, even when you Mega Evolve, they would still be able to switch it on you and intimidate you. So the ability is even worse, by the way. But yeah, I think either way, this is huge, because Weather Wars were always won by Megas, right? They always won the Mega Weather War because, again, Politoed comes in, Rain, Charizard Mega Evolve, Sun. But yeah, I think this is a huge nerf to mostly, I think, like Metagross, because instead of Metagross being able to say, hey, I know Incineroar switching in, I'm going to Mega Evolve and just do big damage, you actually have to say, hey, I might not Mega Evolve this turn, and just say Baby Metagross, so that way I don't get intimidated. So I think a huge nerf to a lot of Megas, Metagross, any of the weather ones, including our new friend Frostlass. But yeah, I think a big change. Also, I think to Kangaskhan as well, because Kangaskhan has been getting sleeper buffs as we wait. Having access to Scrappy and Inner Focus means Kangaskhan is immune to Intimidate. So now, on the turn that Kangaskhan does Mega Evolve, you can intimidate it. So I do think it is an interesting change. I think it's probably a good one. I think that the Mega abilities were like, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say a good one. It's kind of a neutral one, because it's like, hey, sometimes, like, it was really powerful for the Megas, but it's like, hey, why not take the power away from them? It's not a huge deal. It's like, oh no, Charizard can't set up the Sun guaranteed. Like, okay, that's fine. I think it adds a little bit of counterplay, and I'm kind of here for it. Like, I think that some of those Megas were really, really strong, and it was really hard to play against like Metagross or Charizard because their ability, their Mega Evolution trumped the counterplay, but now there is counterplay. So I'm kind of down for this. So next up, we have a article that was written. They asked some questions to one of the guys who helped create the game, And Johnny Chu here pulled some interesting things from the article that we can talk about here. So, roster and balance. The initial launch will only include a select pool of Pokemon, which I think is awesome. I really want like a small, not a small dex, but like a controlled focus dex. I think those formats are really fun, which makes me very hopeful for at least the beginning of Champions. And then there'll be regulation updates, as we expect, to help newcomers gauge strength more easily. The early roster focuses on the final stage evolutions. The producer considers Absol to be currently the strongest pick. That's actually insane. That's cool to see. I'm curious to see what ability it gets. And it kind of implies that there won't be baby Pokemon, which I think is interesting because a lot of the baby Pokemon are not fully evolved Pokemon are really, really strong in the game. Porygon 2, Clefairy, right? Like these Pokemon are so good. Porygon 2 is an amazing Pokemon. It's won plenty of tournaments. Clefairy as well has won a lot of tournaments. So not having access to something like Clefairy or P2 is a big deal. So hopefully they do come back. I think that the Eevee-like Pokemon are very fun. I really enjoy them, and I don't want to see them go. I really do like playing with the non-fully evolved Pokemon. Matchmaking and spectating. A newly refined matchmaking system ensures players are paired against opponents of similar skill with same rank tier. Honestly, I'm not going to lie, the matchmaking in Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, I streamed a lot of it, I've played a lot of their games, sucks. It's really bad. Sometimes you'll be like rank 3, rank 5 at the top, and you get rank 1000. And you're like, why am I playing someone who's 1,000 ranks lower than me? So hopefully the matchmaking is better, especially at the higher tiers. Private battle spectating is supported. Huge. Fucking huge. Spectator mode. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes, it makes tournaments so much easier to stream from a streamer perspective, right? Like even just our grassroots tournaments, you can easily have one stream dedicated to spectating matches. This is so big for grassroots. It's so big for online tournaments in general. Also for real tournaments as well, having that spectator mode. Replay functionality is not currently available. Come on, bro. Give me that replays. I really would love a replay system. Battle mechanics and items. Beyond Mega Evolution, special mechanics seen in PV, such as terrestrialization, will be handled through a unified item called the ring, right? Portion of held items will be unlocked from the start. The rest can be purchased with in-game points. That's fair. I expect terrestrialization to come back. To eliminate the barrier for new players, individual strength differences, IVs, have been removed entirely. All stats are fixed values, freeing up time spent on the egg hatching in actual battle practice. The base point EV allocation system also differs from mainline games. It was designed as a standalone system. So yeah, we've seen that. The slider's really easy. No IVs hurts. I think IVs are like, I'm not too mad about it. I'm not like crying, but at the same time, I think IVs were cool. I think there was a lot of really cool things you could do. I used a lot of Ursaluna, and I've messed around with those IVs so much. Specifically, also in Regulation I, there was a lot of depth with making Incineroar slower than stuff like Ice Rider, and just setting up these guaranteed cool board positions that you could get by being slower than certain Pokemon. So I think overall IVs are kind of a good thing, but I understand getting rid of them. They are confusing, and for a new player, it's like, why wouldn't you want the max IVs, right? Like, it just makes sense. I do think also like foul play becomes stronger, which I'm okay with. I don't think it's a huge deal. A lot of times in tournaments, I choose swag over practicality. I don't need a 0 attack IV, special attacker. Like, I'll try. Like, I will try, but sometimes it's like, hey, I got a Cresselia that's shiny from Pokemon Go, I'm using that. Because some formats foul play isn't real, but I do think there are Pokemon that will suffer from foul play more. The calcs do get kind of crazy. Like Lunala, Shadow Rider specifically, foul play does insane damage, and being able to drop the IVs to 0, you will take off like 5-6%. So a big nerf to those Pokemon. Scout system. You get 1 free scout from random pool of 10 Pokemon. These Pokemon come with base points already allocated, making them immediately usable. The scout system seems really neat. There was a lot of stuff. I'm not really covering the scout system too much. I'm mostly focusing on the VGC side, but I do think the scout system is really sick, and I think it actually seems really useful. Paid content, paid elements are limited to the Battle Pass membership, and a membership subscription primarily designed to accelerate game progression rather than grant competitive advantage. Fair enough. Hopefully it stays that way. I don't want this game to be pay to win. I just want cool music if I want to pay for it, which who knows? So I think all these things like seem really positive. A lot of stuff we kind of already knew. 2 other things to note, I'll leave you on this, is that there was a as the players were playing the demo, they found that Gengar did not get access to Encore, which was a move that Gengar got access to, but I could totally see like them trimming and changing the movesets of the Pokemon. So I totally think like Gengar not having Encore is kind of interesting. And I mean, we don't know. Granted, when the game comes out, it was a demo. They might have different stuff. We don't know for sure. But I think that they are being very deliberate with the movesets they're giving it. So a lot of the moves that the Pokemon got in the past, we'll have to wait and see if they do in fact get it. Another big one that Wolf mentioned was there was no knockoff on Incineroar. That's kind of crazy. I think that's a good nerf. I think Incineroar is very strong. I love Incineroar, but I think he's very strong. And removing knockoff seems fair. I think it's a very, very good move, but maybe Incineroar shouldn't get that. Maybe he should have to rely on like his shitty Darkest Lariat, right? So I think overall, I'm very, very excited for Pokemon Champions, and I think a lot of the information we got was very exciting, and I'm curious to see, but we will have to see. We're getting closer and closer. This weekend, there is a PAX demo, so I'll update you guys if we find out anything from that. But with that being said, let me know down below how excited you are for Champions. And yeah, please subscribe if you want to keep getting more Champions news. I'm here for you. And then obviously Champions content once the game comes out. I am so excited to continue making content and make content for this game. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.